Good day, everybody. It's time to revive something here in the Tyler Werner Show, which we haven't gotten to for a while. What has been a very interesting 2015 NFL season for the Philadelphia Eagles and just across the board on this holiday/Christmas weekend, whatever you want to call it. Happy holidays out there to everybody listening to the Tyler Werner Show. And without further ado, obviously it's the lead story of the week. I mean, pretty much in all of sports, I guess, and just to the NFL in general. With that in mind, we bring back the Tyler Werner Show Callout of the Week.
It's time for Tyler Werner's Callout of the Week.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all. What's the matter with you?
Loser! You're a loser!
Are you kidding me?
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every word I have to say!
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this week's Call Out of the Week is none other than Odell Beckham Jr. of the New York Football Giants. That's what people tend to call him. Obviously, it's a no-brainer at this point. What went down between the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants this past week, Sunday, in the NFL, when the Giants almost rallied back to beat the Carolina Panthers and of course falling just short. The Panthers kicking the game-winning field goal as time expired, but obviously throughout this game, you had obviously a lot of, fighting, you want to call it, heat between Odell Beckham Jr. and Josh Norman. And look, I mean, right away, I mean, there's all kinds of, drama on both sides coming out of this story. Obviously, the bottom line is, I mean, back and forth here, things got out of hand quickly. And, I mean, in a situation like this, I mean, seeing how things were unfolding back and forth, seeing as how Josh Norman and both Odell Beckham Jr. were being violent with each other, throwing slaps, punches, grabbing face masks, shoving each other, whatever the case may be on both sides. The head official and just the officials in general going forward here obviously have to take some blame for this and criticisms. And I mean, when a game is unfolding like this, things like this are unfolding in a game. I mean, it's the responsibility of the officials to get a little more control of it and kind of just, pull both sides, off to the side and say, look, if this kind of behavior continues or happens again, ejections will be made. It will not be tolerated. And that's obviously what should have happened in this game, and especially to Odell Beckham. There's no excuse for, obviously, fist fighting, what Josh Norman and Odell Beckham Jr. were doing to each other. Obviously, it draws flags, as it should, and it's just a sign that maybe, guys got to be ejected. Well, okay, there's also, there's people trying, I know there's people trying to defend Odell Beckham, and that he was getting, threatened with bats early in the game, and a lot of, I don't know why, a lot of, phony New York Giant fans who have no connection to New York really or whatever, and are just a bandwagon for recent Super Bowl victories in the past decade or whatever, that just kind of came out of the woodwork as far as I'm concerned here in Philadelphia territory. It doesn't make any sense to, go to bat for this guy, no pun intended, when, with this whole bat, apparently it's a ritual that several other teams in recent years have done in the NFL pregame, and it's not like anybody it's not like there was any violence going on with the bats or whatever, and it's some ritual. And again, I don't totally understand it, but as far as I'm concerned, it's nothing new. It's only a big deal now when, I guess people want to try to, I guess, justify what is going on, dig a little deeper into this game and things that have, talk that went on before the game and whatever else, and between, smack talk and this and that. To me, what it all comes down to is the bottom line, and the primary reason why Odell Beckham Jr., I'm singling him out here as the call-out of the week. We bring back the call-out of the week since, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, every week the Eagles lose and, at times stink it up. I mean, you can kind of just call out Chip Kelly for the call.
Was that like a wise-ass comment?
So, it's one of those things where I don't want it to be a, I guess, a repetitive thing, a monotonous thing where, because a lot of times I spend a whole podcast calling out Chip Kelly sometimes, and just, everybody in this regime that falls under the umbrella of Chip Kelly. But no, I mean, this week, the event of what Odell Beckham Jr. ultimately did is, in the saga throughout the week, is ultimately why he gets called out here in the Tyler Werner Show, and why he kind of needs a bit of a wake-up call after this. Because what kind of, I guess, goon at some point, and again, the refs, they should have ejected him sooner, maybe. I mean, he should have been ejected after this hit to the head. But what kind of... And again, I mean, the referees, they maybe should have tried to get a little more control of the situation before it got as bad as it did, before it reached a climax as bad as it did.
I agree.
But at the end of the day, what possesses Odell Beckham to, I guess, on a Josh Norman who wasn't looking? I know things were heated up at this point, but what possesses you to, I guess, run your helmet into another guy's head, essentially, like a ram, and, perhaps, I mean, deliver a huge concussion or serious injury, which Odell Beckham is very lucky that Josh Norman did not sustain. Not only that, but, maybe cause head trauma, but maybe cause your own head some harm. I mean, what kind of idiot does something like that? I mean, I just don't understand what would possess him to do that. I mean, it's one thing if you're slapping each other on the helmet or whatever, which, I mean, or trying to reach through the face mask into the face, and I mean, I guess that's one thing, and again, something that needs to be nullified before it gets worse. And I mean, I guess sometimes that stuff happens. And I mean, but again, I mean, it was escalating. I mean, guys, I mean, they were wrestling each other a little bit and this and that, but ultimately, when somebody's not looking, what possesses you to do something like that, which can cause, it kind of exponentially multiplies the chances of serious injury there, to the head especially. What possesses Odell Beckham to do that? I mean, that's just, again, it's just, Odell Beckham Jr. is extremely lucky that Norman did not take a serious injury, because if he did, I mean, then what? I mean, we're sitting here, I mean, just blast. I mean, that's just, who knows? But he's very lucky that Josh Norman did not sustain a serious injury. We'll just leave it to that. Again, had he, this story would be huge, and Odell Beckham Jr. would probably have much more, serious ramifications against it. But, geez.
Man's got to know his limitations.
So, that happens, and, yeah, obvious fine. That's coming. Not to mention, it wasn't even a play. Not to mention, you're not a defender or anything trying to make a tackle. This is just a blatant, running of the bull, I guess if you want to call it, on Josh Norman. So not only did, the refs, I guess, before the situation escalated and got any worse, not only did the refs not take control of this game and the situation, the heat between the two, they don't eject Odell Beckham. He should have been ejected from the game without question. I'm sorry, but when a guy is in that state of mind that he is gonna plunge headfirst into another guy, seemingly at full speed, it's just, he's jeopardizing the safety. Obviously football is a contact sport. Obviously guys get hurt all the time. But when you are, in a sense, out to do something like that on purpose, not trying to make a play or anything, when you're just doing that maliciously like that, at that point you just got to be sat down the rest of the game. You're talking about safety becoming a huge issue at that point. At that point, you just got to be ejected.
Sit down!
Exactly. As Mike Golick would say about Greg Hardy this past offseason, but, refusing to, I guess, accept his suspension. But Odell Beckham Jr. doesn't get ejected. The Giants don't win the game anyways, but again, at that point, it's not even just about that. It's just about this guy is maliciously, at this point, out to hurt. Things have escalated too far. And you got to control the game. Well, all right. So, Odell Beckham Jr. is fortunate he doesn't get ejected. And I guess emphasize the junior on that Odell Beckham Jr., considering to me, it seems like he's got a lot of maturing to do. So he gets suspended for one game. That comes down. And fined. And Odell Beckham Jr. has the goal to appeal the suspension.
What's the matter with you?
All right. Again, do you just... if Josh Norman had gotten like a serious concussion or head injury, is that maybe what it would have taken for maybe Odell Beckham Jr. to not look at this, look back at how this escalated and what you did and how you fail to, I guess, handle the situation and just let yourself things get too far instead of just maybe doing your job a little bit more and just burning a cornerback or whatever. Again, ego gets a little bit too in the way of this, but essentially what happens, Odell Beckham appeals the suspension after this blatant and just unnecessary helmet-to-helmet hit. He appeals the suspension, and obviously that's to be against the Minnesota Vikings this week. And ultimately, the Minnesota Vikings lose. Or I'm sorry, the Minnesota Vikings beat the Giants. The Giants, I guess, are essentially done for the season, out of the playoffs. And when Odell Beckham Jr., comes back, I mean, he would, that would mean, well, the game wouldn't matter. So, okay, Odell Beckham Jr. appealed his suspension. And, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, rightfully so, justice is served. Appeal denied. And Odell Beckham Jr. not playing against the Minnesota Vikings this weekend.
Loser! You're a loser! Are you feeling sorry for yourself?
So yes, take a seat, buddy. You shouldn't be playing this week, and I don't know what. Again, I don't know if it would have taken maybe a serious head injury or something out of Josh Norman for maybe Odell Beckham to realize, oh, you know what? I did something I shouldn't have done here. I did something that maybe justifies a 1-game punishment. And for that matter, maybe a little more, counseling. And I just don't, again, maybe a little bit of player safety counseling on that note. Maybe just a reality check, maybe it's not the best common sense to lay a hit with a head-to-head hit like that on, kind of a defensive player at that point. I don't know. I mean, again, you're obviously you're putting another player's safety at a exponentially higher risk of serious injury, which, again, that'll be on you, and not to mention your own head. So, I mean, again, I don't know what you were thinking, but again, suspension appeal denied by Odell Beckham, or Odell Beckham's suspension upheld. Not playing against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I mean, whether or not, it's a desperate Giants team. I mean, maybe they beat the Vikings nevertheless. I don't know, but nevertheless, I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. shouldn't be playing. Justice is served. So, yeah, I know he's having a great year. I know a lot of people maybe are going to miss him in fantasy playoffs this week or whatever, and maybe that's what possesses people to stick up for him. But you gotta, for a second, you gotta take away, you gotta ignore the NY on the blue helmets and the New York Giants uniforms and whatnot. And you gotta take a real good look at what Odell Beckham Jr. did this past Sunday. Driving and just how out of control he got, and just how the referees kind of let this situation get out of control and not pounced on top of it a little more and say, look, ejections are gonna be pretty much quite necessary if things continue like this. But again, at the end of the day, there's no excuse for that hit out of Odell Beckham. It just lacks common sense. At the end of the day, he didn't push him with his hands or anything, and he took his head full speed, head first, into another player's head. I mean, I don't know how many times I have to say that for, I guess to nail the point home. Now, after all this, only after Odell Beckham Jr.'s suspension was denied, rightfully so. Oh, that's when he comes out with an apology statement. Again, remember a couple weeks ago or a few weeks, whenever it was, when this Eagles organization and its locker room players, key players on this team were getting questioned after that, Tampa Bay Buccaneers blowout loss and the Detroit Lions debacle on Thanksgiving. I believe it was the days between those games when Lane Johnson had silly comments about, there's no home field advantage here in Philadelphia and, players booing and this and that. We talked about it. It was like a month ago already. And then it's like he comes out with this apology where maybe the PR department, maybe they got to him a little bit, like, try to bridge the gap, I guess. Well, now, only after the suspension gets overturned, his appeal gets up, his suspension gets upheld, or however you want to word it, his appeal denied. That's when this statement comes out from Odell Beckham Jr. several days after the game, after he basically lost his battle here with trying to get his suspension overturned. That's when perhaps a phony apology comes out. Well, all right, you know what? We'll see if we can get any sense out of this. See, maybe some sincerity. See if maybe it's a, again, whether it was kind of crafted for him by the PR department or whatever. Let's see. This was the statement from Odell Beckham Jr. the other day after basically he basically lost his battle and I guess is going to have to sit this week out against the Minnesota Vikings. This is the statement from Odell Beckham Jr. I owe someone an apology. I wasn't raised to act like I did the other day. I am not here to make excuses for my conduct. This isn't about anything that was said or done to me. This is about my behavior, and I am responsible for my behavior. People expect better from me, and I expect better from myself. First of all, I apologize to the organization I represent, the Giants and our ownership, John Mara and his family, and Steve Tishk and his family, and Jerry Reese, who drafted me and gave me the opportunity to be a part of this organization. I want to apologize to the Giants fans. They want to be proud of us, and proud of players like me who represent their team. What happened the other day was embarrassing to them and embarrassing to me. A lot of kids look up to me as a role model. That is a responsibility I accept and take seriously. Many of the parents of those kids have asked since Sunday what they should say to their children about my conduct. I don't have the perfect answer, but I think one thing they can say is how I handled myself the other day is an example of how not to conduct yourself. I displayed poor sportsmanship. And those parents can also say that when you act like that, there are consequences. And I hope to be an example of somebody who did something wrong and learned from it. I owe Coach Tom Coughlin, our coaches, and my teammates an apology. They have had to answer for my actions, and that's not fair to them. How I conduct myself is my responsibility. I let my coaches and teammates down. I'm blessed and privileged to play the game I love, and will do all I can to carry myself in a way that honors the game, the NFL, my team, my coaches, all my fans, and my family moving forward. Alright. So, alright. Your coaches, your team, fans, family, you apologize to and everything, and yeah, how about the guy that you still laid that unnecessary head-to-head hit on?
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all.
All right, and I'm not trying to stick up for Josh Norman or anything, because I know he was being a goon too in the game. But when you lay a hit like that on somebody, that's just a whole different level, okay? That's just like, you can't take it to that level and then maybe not owe some kind of apology, because Josh Norman didn't take it to that level. That head-to-head hit, that's just a whole nother level. And again, this is all this apology comes out. It's like he only when he realizes that, well, my suspension's not going to get overturned. I guess I'm going to sit down. I guess I got to take the high road here, and the PR department may be looking at it that way as well. Yeah, Odell, yeah, maybe got to take the high road here, and it's a bunch of rubbish. That's the bottom line, and it just comes off as phony when this is all coming out after the fact. All right, it's the bottom line. It's all after the fact, and you expect it to, I guess maybe the people a little more plugged into what's going on here, you expect us to buy it?
I agree.
That's just a bunch of phony baloney. Yeah, I kind of like that. Phony baloney. Making up new words right here on the Tyler Werner Show. Anyhow, if anybody disagrees, any Giant, especially any not even if you're Giant, but just anybody on the side of Odell Beckham not being suspended this week or whatever, if you think that's a fair apology, just how it's come out, and again, not to mention, if Josh Norman took a serious injury from this, would that have brought out an apology to you? From Odell to Josh Norman at that point? Maybe, because at the end of the day, at some point, you're bound to play the Carolina Panthers again. At some point, Odell Beckham Jr. is bound to line up against Josh Norman again. And when that happens, maybe it's one of these things he's got to look at, and those, both of them, but especially Odell Beckham Jr., they got to look at and maybe put egos aside a little bit more and have a little more common sense, I guess, heading into the game. Hey, trash talking, that's part of the game sometimes. Little scuffles here and there, getting in each other's face a little bit. Yeah, that's part of the game sometime. But it's never meant to be part of the game for someone to deliberately drive their head into another guy's head, or helmet into another guy's helmet, however you want to word it, with, again, a seriously increased chance of causing a significant head injury that should never be a possibility. There should never be a blatant hit like that has nothing to do with the play ever. It should not be in the game in the first place. So, Odell Beckham, Tom Coughlin saying Odell Beckham Jr. is going to learn from this and that. That's great, but he better realize he is a huge target now after something like that. That's not going to be tolerated. Actions like that, but this is the cover athlete for Madden 16, for crying out loud. And he's popping up on Head and Shoulders commercials when, I get up YouTube videos and stuff like that. I mean, and he goes and he pulls that this week. I mean, it's just, he can't just, maybe he can learn from this. I mean, he should learn from this. I mean, it's something that doesn't belong in the NFL. All right. And I don't know how anybody could disagree with any of this. I mean, that's the bottom line. Maybe if Odell Beckham Jr. comes out with an apology, maybe a little more relevant to the actual action towards Josh Norman, and maybe a little bit less of how, all the players have to do this, and maybe if you can be a little more, a little less PR sounding, I guess. Apologizing to the fans. They want to be proud of us, and at the end of the day, they're gonna stick up for you anyways. You don't have to apologize to the fans. I mean, it's not the fan. I mean, look at the guy, players you're playing against that you are perhaps putting at an increased chance of having a serious head injury. Should be apologizing to that, that a little more. And just guys you're going to line up against and, that are maybe wondering like, oh, is this, if things get a little heated, is he going to, if he gets butt hurt on a play or something that I make on, is he going to get, rough with me, start throwing punches? Is he going to just suddenly ram his helmet into my helmet out of nowhere? Is he going to, it's kind of the question that, you kind of present the NFL with when you do something like this. So that pretty much, I guess, cuts the cord right there as far as this call out of the week, which quite frankly was just, it was bound to happen here in the Tyler Werner Show this week, and kind of again, just kind of took away from a lot of other things that went on around the NFL, I guess. At the end of the day, nothing really holds a candle to that issue, and just the drama and just how, again, Odell Beckham Jr. has the gall to appeal the suspension, and then, I almost would have rather him not even apologized at all than come out with just a phony baloney one. Since we're going, I guess we're going with that term here in the Tyler Werner Show.
Let's go have a ham sandwich.
Maybe a recurring term going forward here. Patented by myself. I don't know. Maybe, you look at that and, it's just, there's no place for it here in the NFL. That's the bottom line. Now, got the Eagles-Redskins Saturday night, season on the line. Must win for the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously. We'll talk about it. Gotta say, a lot of matchups in this game for the Eagles are not in the favor of the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, is this Eagles team, are they going to have trouble stopping the run again this week? As they did against the Cardinals this past week. Because if they can't stop the run, they're screwed. That's going to open up play action. That's going to open up Deshaun Jackson down the field on Eric Rowe, who hopefully isn't stuck covering him one-on-one.
That's exactly right.
Maybe he's gonna maybe he'll require some safety help. A rookie cornerback, he had to cover Calvin Johnson on Thanksgiving a month ago, and we saw how that went over like a lead balloon. Deshaun Jackson's been playing pretty well. He's been healthier, and Deshaun, he's not a high volume reception guy, but he's the kind of guy that's going to catch, for 50-plus yards. He's done it in recent weeks, pretty frequently. So, I mean, you give up a 50, 60-yard bomb for a touchdown already. I mean, that's already a pretty solid outing out of Deshaun Jackson right there. So, not to mention he's been just overall production and yardage. He's been racking up a little bit in recent weeks. So, I'm not feeling good about this game. Redskins obviously with a chance to rise up and win the division this year, exceed expectations. And come together and host a division playoff game in the wild card round of the playoffs, which will probably be a loss to the Seattle Seahawks. But that's pretty much the story of whoever wins the NFC East, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, I mean, who's thinking that far ahead, I guess? You just win the division, I think, is an accomplishment enough for the Washington Redskins. And at the end of the day, I mean, I think Redskins fans can be happy and satisfied with just doing that. Winning the division anyhow, when they were the least expected to. I mean, they were expected to be the stinker of this division this year, and hey, they might end up winning the division. And that's going to depend on if this Eagles team can't pull it together. And if they don't, and especially if they would then go on to win a pointless game against the New York Giants next week, like they did last year, it's going to be a very disappointing season. At the end of the day, I mean, it's kind of already disappointing to me how it's turned out, and I'm just a little bit exhausted with this season. And I'm just kind of, I'm geared towards the off-season already. I'm kind of in off-season mode as far as when I think the Philadelphia Eagles already, because, again, I don't see them winning a playoff game, even if they do win the division, which, again, is a disappointing season to me. Especially, winning a division at 7-9 or 8-8. I mean, they have to finish 8-8 essentially to win the division, but still. Just to see how this team got worse, regardless if they win the division. It's just not good. So we'll talk about that on the Tyler Werner Show. And if the Eagles lose, season over, essentially, and I guess maybe we'll, as far as Philadelphia sports are concerned, maybe we'll be shifting gears a little more towards the Flyers. As the Flyers, a few games over 500, playing some pretty solid hockey as of late. As we start to move into the year of 2016, where things start to pick up a little more and get interesting with the NHL season, I think, as football season will come to a close for the Philadelphia Eagles, and obviously we'll playoffs, but still, playoffs perhaps without the Philadelphia Eagles. So that'll wrap things up for this edition of the Tyler Werner Show. We will see. We will see whether or not the Eagles pull it off against the Washington Redskins and win a game that they're expected to win, to, again, to not get swept by the Redskins this season, team that hasn't been good on the road, and a team that you're expected to beat in a revenge situation, especially after last season when the Redskins ended your season effectively and had nothing to play for, mind you, and earlier this season when the Eagles came out absolutely flat against the Redskins and delivered a disappointing loss early in the season. So we will see whether or not we will be calling an end to this Philadelphia Eagles season, or not, next time on the Tyler Werner Show.
Oh God, ease our suffering in this our moment of great despair.
We will see. And to see future editions, or listen to future editions of the Tyler Werner Show, links right here, Tyler Werner Show, Facebook page, facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show, simply enough. Or subscribe to the YouTube channel. Always a simple way to keep up to speed with what's going on here on the Tyler Werner Show as we move forward through Week 16 in the 2015 NFL season.
Number one box office attraction, number one WWE superstar, multi-time WWE champion, Brock Lesnar.
Time to revamp your office space, eh? Looking for an interior decorator? Look no further than Brock Lesnar.
Now that's the way a real man uses a sledgehammer.
Out with the old, in with the new. Give Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman the call.
Mr. Lesnar, you're the future of interior decorator. Ellie, we're done.
What is it about good sex that makes me have to crap? Guess it's all that pumping. Pump and dump.
Pump and dump. Never stop the pumping. Always keep her satisfied. Pump and dump.
You really jarred something loose, Tiger.
Hi there, I'm Hank Hill. Well, I'd like to tell you what Strickland can do to meet your energy needs. You see, at Strickland, the customer comes first. It's kind of interesting. The word customer begins with CU. Well, we don't see you as just another sale, but as a member of our team. I thought you might enjoy 7.5 gallons of pure premium propane. Strickland Propane, the customer comes first.